In August 2018, Tractor Sazi, an Iranian club from the city of Tabriz, went to Tehran to play local giants Esteghlal at the Azadi National Stadium. In the stand behind the goal, a few thousand Tractor fans with red shirts sang, "Death to the dictator, death to the dictator." The chant echoes themes heard during the protests and demonstrations against the regime that took part in Iran in 2018, which were in part caused by a worsening economic crisis in the country. The song is heard frequently during Tractor's games with Esteghlal in the Persian Gulf Pro League and is directed at Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the Iranian supreme leader and current ruler since 1989. During the game, the police responded with force, beating and arresting fans until the singing stopped. Tractor lost 3-0, but the chants continued regardless, and the Iranian broadcaster televising the game felt compelled to lower the volume of the pitchside microphones. It's part of the turbulent atmosphere which surrounds Tractor Sazi, one of the most fascinating clubs in the Middle East, during their most hectic season ever. In 1970, the Iranian government tractor company in Tabriz decided to establish a football team for the factory workers and the city's residents. The venture was aimed at strengthening the connection between the company, the state, and the area's inhabitants. Tabriz is in northwestern Iran, close to the border with Azerbaijan and Turkey. Around 1.7 million people live in the city, which is a melting pot of Azerbaijani Turks, Shiite Muslims, as well as Armenian Christian Kurds and Baha'i minorities. The spoken language in the province, unlike the rest of the country, is Azerbaijani. The language has fallen from relevance in the rest of Iran and is practically banned in written form and in schools. But in the Yadagari Imam stands, Azerbaijani is almost the sole language spoken. So, while the local masses feel underrepresented on a national and cultural level, Tractor has become a symbol of Azeri identity. According to the last census, there are over 16 million Azerbaijanis living in Iran, while only 8 million are living in Azerbaijan itself. Tractor are also highly popular in Azerbaijan and parts of Turkey as well, and, as a result of its unique cultural identity, also performs a strong representative role. The Tabrizians, in a way, are sort of outsiders in Persian society, especially for those who live in the capital Tehran, and this isn't confined to football. What started as a leisure pursuit for the residents and factories workers in Tabriz has become a powerful brand over the years. The club's official fan club has over 500,000 members, and alongside the popular football team, the club competes in futsal, basketball, volleyball, taekwondo, baseball, and is planning to enter the esports market soon. Still, the Kimirzi Kutlar, or Red Wolves, have never been part of Persian football's elite. In the club's early years, Tractor mainly struggled in the Iranian second division. Back then, Iran was autocratic, monarchy-led and a pro-Western country, under the reign of the Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. It was the pre-revolution times, and it was a different country to the one it is today. Then, in 1979, the famous revolution took over the country, and Iran changed dramatically. By the end of the 1970s, and after a gradual decline in power of the Shah's regime and the Iranian public's growing frustration with the economic crisis and repeated interference of foreign countries in Iran, the structure of the country was on the verge of collapse. A coalition of religious and business leaders, liberals and left-wing activists, all guided by the ideology of Ayatollah Khamenei, at the time in exile in France, began to inspire high-profile protests and demonstrations, targeting the Shah's regime as corrupt, avaricious, and being under the control of Western powers. The protest movement grew extensively and eventually resulted in the overthrow of Pahlavi. A new religious rule grew in its place, with Khamenei becoming the supreme leader of a new Islamic republic. The National Football League was suspended for many years after, returning only in 1987, and in its place the provincial game remained in the years between. Tractor would spend those years bouncing between divisions, but since 2001, when the Persian Pro League was launched, they have been a constant member of the top flight. Still, winning the Persian Hafzi Cup remains their only major honour in 48 years of existence, and although they have been a regular participant in the Asian Champions League in recent years, they've struggled to achieve any significant results. And yet, Traktor are still a vast club in Iran, and almost all of their home games are played in front of a 66,000 capacity crowd. The club's main rivals are from Tehran, Istiklal and Persepolis, the reigning champions. Every time Traktor arrive in Tehran to play, they're supported by tens of thousands of fans drawn not just from the Azeri community in the city, but from all over Iran. In addition to being a meeting between Azerbaijanis and Persians, the fixture pits a sizable minority seeking recognition in a country against those who control it. It is the Tabrizis versus the Tehranis. In 2018, the club was bought by Mohammad Reza Zanouzi, a local billionaire who owns ATA Airlines, Bank of Saman, Bank of Gardeshgari, and the Bonyan Diesel Factory, among others. According to a 2011 report, his fortune was estimated at $4 billion, and given the scarcity of billionaires in Iranian football, his takeover of Traktor had a dramatic effect. They began to make statements almost immediately. John Toshak was appointed as head coach. While better known in European football for his time at Sporting Lisbon, Real Sociedad, and Real Madrid, Toshak has spent much of the last decade off the beaten track, coaching in Macedonia and Morocco. Most recently, he spent 2 seasons with Wydad Casablanca, prior to which he won the Azeri Super Cup in 2013 with Khazar Lankaran in Azerbaijan. It initially made him a good fit for Zanouzi's Traktor project, particularly given his ability to attract players from Europe to Tabriz. Harry Forrester, a former Aston Villa Academy graduate, has already made a brief stop in Iran, while Anthony Stokes, who had great success with Celtic in the Scottish Premiership, is still at the club, scoring an average of over a goal every 2 games. Zanouzi is investing wisely, seeking to grow his club's global appeal. Yukiya Sugita, a diminutive, tricky Japanese attacking midfielder who had previously played in Spain and Sweden, signed for an undisclosed fee on a 3-year contract. Sugita is not a member of the Japanese national team, but his transfer still made Traktor Sazi one of the hottest trends on Japanese television in the days after. At the beginning of August 2018, Traktor then sent further tremors through Iranian football. Masoud Shojoy and Ashkan Dajaga, both stars of the national side, signed from AEK Athens and Nottingham Forest respectively. The photo of Zanouzi posing with his 2 new signings immediately went viral on Iranian social media. Lee Irwin, a Scottish striker from Kilmarnock, also joined, and another famous Iranian, Ehsan Hajsafi, who has over 100 caps for the country, moved home from Greek Super League side Olympiakos. Like Galactico's projects of the past, Traktor initially struggled with the quick influx of so many new players. Their current season did not start well, beginning with a modest 2 wins from 6 games and, disappointingly, in a penalty shootout elimination from the Hafsi Cup. Zanouzi responded by sacking Toshak. Forrester, who arrived in poor shape, played just 2 games before being shipped out on loan to their city rivals, Machine Sazi. It did not have the desired effect, and upon the expiration of the loan, Forrester was released from his contract and allowed to move to a minor club in the United States. In January 2019, to replace Toshak, Zanouzi hooked the big-name coach he wanted, the Belgian Georges Lakens. But that wasn't the extent of the January incomings. In one of the biggest transfers Persian football has ever known, former AC Milan defender Kevin Constant also became a Traktor player, signing from Swiss super club FC Sion. In total, Traktor signed 21 new players ahead of the 2018-19 season, and for a cumulative cost of nearly $8 million. On the one hand, of course, Zanouzi's impact and the sanctioned spending has delighted the Traktor fans. On the other, however, with the effect of US sanctions, inflation escalating in Iran, and the currency plummeting, the club's ambition has not been well received, particularly as the contracts of the foreign players and those of Shojoy and Dajaga are paid in dollars, meaning that, in effect, the currency leaves the footballing economy rather than helping to sustain it. It's an investment which is paying off though. Despite their bad start, Traktor were 4th by the middle of March, having scored the 2nd most goals in the Persian Pro League. At the beginning of February, they hosted Istiklal, winning courtesy of a Dajaga goal in front of 85,000 fans. The images of the day were striking, with journalists and drones capturing the kind of passion for football which isn't readily associated with Iran. The future looks bright for Traktor, And a title this season isn't beyond the realm of possibility. Whatever this year's outcome though, Tractor Sazi is no longer just an Iranian team with a funny name and an unusual logo. Instead, with their financial ambition and recognisable players, they are now one of the most inspiring clubs in the Middle East.